Hurricanes fans, today we were proven right. The whole world said the Hurricanes didn't belong. People felt like Notre Dame should have gotten in, the Hurricanes should have gotten out, should have been left out. Today, our Hurricanes on the football field proved us right when we beat Texas A&M. Didn't just beat them, held them to 3 points for the entire game. So we're going to get into my instant reaction. The way that these typically go is I just read off all of the notes that I took in real time throughout the game. So I'll give you all those thoughts, and then we'll talk about some things towards the end of that as well. But first, I'm praying that you'll give me a little bit of time here. I got to tell you a quick little story if you don't mind. So I met one of my best friends back in 1994. I'm 38 years old. I know y'all probably had no idea I was 38, but yes, I'm 38 years old. I met him in 1994. 31 years we've been best friends. So he moved here from Oklahoma. He ended up playing on my brother's football team when they were in the fourth grade. I was in the second grade. And if you know anything about having older siblings, a lot of the times their best friends become your best friends as you grow older. And that's what happened. His name is David. So David moves here. They get on the same football team. That ends up growing to a friendship outside of the football team. David ends up getting on our basketball team. And since my dad was the basketball coach, David basically, I wouldn't say lived at our house, but he was always at our house growing up, always. So the older we got, the closer we got. My brother and David ended up winning state together on the basketball team. On their high school basketball team, they won the state championship. We played summer basketball, at least 70 games every summer. They played on the same school team throughout the school season. So we were always around each other. And I mean always. After school, like during school, best friends. So once we got a little older, we started having kids. I had my daughter, and David ended up having his son within just a couple of months apart. So they ended up being in the same preschool class. You might know that I own some preschools. I own some childcare facilities, my wife and I. So David's child went to our preschool from the time he was itty bitty all the way up until he graduated and then went to elementary school. It just so happened that my daughter and David's son went to elementary school together all the way up. We took a picture, and you can find it on my Facebook page if you go and look at that. We took a picture, me, David, his son, and my daughter, their first day of kindergarten, all the way up. And then we took another picture on their last day of fifth grade. So I put those pictures side by side on my Facebook the other day. My daughter, his son, ended up going to the same middle school now. So this year, their first year of middle school. And, David and I always see each other, talk to each other, sit next to each other at all the functions. There's always something going on at these schools, whether it's a Christmas event or they're singing songs about who knows what. But anyway, there was a program, and it ended up being a band program. My daughter and David's son is in the band together. So they're up there performing. I'm looking around. I'm like, where David at? Thought that was kind of weird. So I just took a picture of his son and sent it to him. Like, you probably want to see your son playing this instrument. Just figured that made sense. Didn't get a response. Then the next day I did get a response from him. He was like, yeah, he loves playing those drums. He loves that. And I was like, yeah, cool. So my wife and I, we were at lunch this past Friday. Not the 19th, but the Friday before that. I guess that would have been the 12th. We're at lunch, just she and I sitting there because we are semi-retired. We have employees that basically run the business for us. It allows us to do almost what we want to throughout the day. So this day we went to lunch. We're just sitting there chatting. And she was like, somebody texted me saying that David is kind of sick. Like, he's in the hospital. And I'm like, what do you mean he's sick? And she was like, something to do with his organs or something. He's having some problems with his kidneys or something. And I was like, all right. So I thought that was kind of weird because I just saw him 2 weeks ago. And he was just fine. Just hung out with him for quite a while. He was just fine. Thought that was just weird. So anyway, I was like, well, we need to end this lunch, and I'm going to go up to the hospital right now if he's there. So that's what we did. We ended the lunch, told my wife, hey, we got to go. So I ended up just going straight to the hospital. It's like, what's going on? So I get in there, and he's sitting in the hospital bed. And I was like, what's going on, man? And he's like, well, they tell me that my kidneys are failing and my liver is failing. I'm like, okay, what's like what? Like that's weird, you know? Because he's 40 and I'm 38, so he's 40 years old. So organ failure it just didn't make any sense to me. So I'm like, okay, that doesn't make sense, but what's the doctors telling you? Like, what's the next thing to do? And he's like, well, they tried dialysis and it didn't work. And I said, okay, so what's the next step? And he's like, well, the doctors told me they've done everything that they can do for me. So my next step is just going up to the hospice floor. And I'm like, wait, whoa, hospice? That means death. No, what's the next step? And he's like, no, like they tell me this is it for me. And he's sitting there talking, looking the exact same. He didn't look swollen or sick. He looked totally fine sitting in this hospital bed. I'm like, okay. So I'm doing all kind of research, trying to figure some of the things out, talking to the doctors, and they're like, yeah, we've done all we can. His organs are failing. He's done. I was like, okay, that's crazy. So I tell him, hey man, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. I stayed for about an hour or so. I said, I'm gonna get out of here. I'll come back and visit you tomorrow. We'll see if we come up with anything else. So I leave, come back the next day, and he's still sitting there talking to me. And I'm like, how's everything? How you feeling? He's like, oh, I got a little pain in my legs and everything. So ended up asking the doctor to bring some pain medicines in. They did that. And I stayed for about 45 minutes that day. And I'm like, well, what do you want to do, man? And he's like, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to recover from this because, I am in some pain. And this is just like the doctors are telling me that I don't have any other choice. So maybe when I get up to the hospice room, you can bring the fellas up here and we can have like one game night or something. And it's just crazy to me that I'm thinking that we're planning for one of my best friends to die. Like I can't even process that. Like, okay, that's crazy. Um, so then I went up. I was like, okay, so we'll do that. So let everybody know we'll bring some games up here, Monopoly and all that stuff. We can sit around and laugh, talk about old times and whatnot. And, we can just see how everything progresses. So I ended up getting a phone call a couple of days later, and they're like, hey, David's kidneys are actually functioning today. He seems like he's getting better. And I'm like, thank you, because I've been praying for a miracle like crazy. I'm like, that's good. That's good to hear. And I said, I'll be up there tomorrow and we can, see what's going on. So I go up there the next day. But before I got there, I got a text message saying that David had like fallen off a cliff, basically, like he was doing well one day. And then he just all of a sudden crashed and all of his vitals just went plummeted. So I got up there on Wednesday and David was non-responsive. His eyes were just open, not blinking. He had his mouth wide open. He didn't respond to anything. You could snap in his face. He wouldn't respond to it. He kept doing these weird tremors. I've never seen that before. But I stayed for a little while. I went home and I talked to my wife and I said, I don't know what death looks like, but I'd be shocked if David lived for another 48 hours. And he ended up passing away about 2 hours after that. So I know a whole lot of y'all were helping, making an effort to connect me with some other people. And this is the first time I'm telling this story out loud, so it's still kind of crazy to me. It's sinking in that he passed away, which it's still shocking to me. I'm wrapping my head around it still. But I know a lot of y'all were making an effort to connect me with some other Hurricanes podcasters. And I'm sure some of y'all were like, I wonder why George's not responding. That's why I was dealing with that. So he passed away Wednesday. It's been incredibly sad and a horrible time for us, but God gets us through like he always does. I will say this though. I'm gonna bring this back to football. Just bring it back to football. There's been times when the Hurricanes have either lost or won some really big games, and it impacted me quite a bit, whether they won these big games or lost these big games. And there's people around me who would say, why are you letting these people dictate how you feel? It's just a football game. And when I have to, sometimes I have to bring myself back and say, yeah, it is just a football game. I got to separate myself from it. It's just a football game, and it helps me feel a little better. Today's college football playoff win for the Hurricanes proved to me forever. I mean, from now on, no one will ever be able to tell me that this is just a football game. Because today's game brought me a level of joy that I have not felt in multiple days. So the next time someone tells me, I don't care if it's 50 years from now, the next time somebody tells me it's just a game, you shouldn't let it impact you that much. Be like, nah, brother, it's more than a game. Today's game proved to me forever that this is more than just a game. Football is a beautiful sport. Being a fan is a wonderful thing. Whether it does, sometimes it makes you happy, sometimes it makes you sad. That's totally fine. Today proved to me for the rest of my life, based on the joy that it gave me when I had no joy from Wednesday all the way till today, I have to say that football is far more than just a game. So thank y'all for sitting through that. I appreciate it. I really didn't want to steal too much of your time telling you that because I know it's kind of a downer, but I also want you to know, like, I didn't just intentionally ignore people who were wanting to contact me for different videos and stuff. And I appreciate the help on everything. We were just dealing with some crazy, crazy stuff. Okay. So, all right. So now let's go ahead and jump into something that this game reminded me of like crazy. This game reminded me of 1995 Source Awards when Outkast ended up winning. So just stay with me on this, y'all. In 1995, a group from Atlanta, a group from the South, ended up winning the Best New Artist at the Source Awards, and the crowd booed them. Why did the crowd boo them? Because hip hop at that point had always been run, the rap game had always been run by either the West Coast, like in California, or in New York, the East Coast. That's the only folks that really were running the entire rap game. So now this Southern group comes in and they win the Best New Artist. Fans started booing them like crazy. They hated the fact that they were being represented. They hated the fact that people are recognizing something other than what they've always loved. So here's a quick clip just to show y'all a little bit of what I'm talking about.
And the winner is, ladies, help me out, Outkast. Goody Mob in the house, you know what I'm saying? We want to say what's up to New York, you know what I'm saying? Because we from down south, you know what I'm saying? There's New York up in this, you know what I'm saying? Are y'all in here? You know what I'm saying? This y'all city. You know what I'm saying? We just want to say, you know what I'm saying? We'll say what's up to all the original MCs out there, people like that who got their own stuff. So what's up, Dre?
Yeah, first of all, you know what I'm saying? We want to thank God, just, you know what I'm saying, dead serious, because if it weren't for him, you know what I'm saying, we wouldn't be here. But it's like this, though. I'm tired of folks, you know what I'm saying? Them closed-minded folks, you know what I'm saying? It's like we got a demo tape and don't nobody want to hear it, but it's like this, the South got something to say. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it reminded me of. As soon as that game was over, I was like, the Canes got something to say. The ACC got something to say. If you just put yourself, just put yourself in this situation, or just think about this. If you've got 10 teams over here and you say, these 10 teams are great, and you have another 10 teams over here and someone says, now these 10 teams over here, they're no good. Every time these teams beat each other, it's like, oh, that team's great. That team's great. When these teams beat each other, it's like, oh, well, they're just beating just competition. It's not like that. So, okay, give them a little pat on the head. It's not that big a deal. If these teams and these teams don't play each other very often, there's really no way of comparing and knowing, well, are these 10 teams over here that y'all say are no good? Maybe they are pretty good. Maybe that's why they keep beating each other, because maybe they are pretty decent. And maybe these teams over here that y'all say are just exceptional and they keep beating each other, maybe they're not so good after all, because all they're beating is each other. So that's what it reminds me of, like the SEC over here and the ACC over here. I don't think there's a huge difference in these two conferences. I really don't. I just believe at the beginning of the season, people have crowned the SEC teams and they've just stated, these teams are really good. And then they look at teams from the ACC and they say, now these teams over here, they're not very good. They don't play each other too often. They're just playing each other. They're just playing within their small circles. So if they're not playing outside of that circle, who's to say how good they really are? I will tell you today, well, just a few weeks ago, Louisville beat Kentucky 41-0. Louisville's from the ACC, and Kentucky's from the SEC. That happened. Today, a team from the ACC that a lot of folks said didn't belong, they played a team in the SEC and only gave up 3 points. What does that say? That says a whole lot to me. So I think the Canes got something to say as far as just football going forward, not just this year, but I mean going forward. It needs to be looked at. I think the ACC has something to say. I think the teams in the ACC, I think Louisville could have beat a lot of teams in the SEC this year. I think SMU could have beat a lot of teams that's in the SEC this year. It's just that at the beginning of the season, they say these are great, these teams suck. They don't play each other outside of their circles, and then it just ends up being that way for the rest of the year. But just like Andre 3000 said, the Canes got something to say, and I think people are going to actually open up their ears and hear it this time, especially with the transfer portal being the way that it is and the fact that you can get any player. Like if you just look at the Hurricanes, they got SEC players all over their team. Players from Georgia, players from Tennessee, players from Auburn. They're players all over the place that's from the SEC, and they still look at Miami and they say, oh, they're not that good. They're not nearly as good as the SEC. Not nearly. They don't have any SEC wins on their schedule. That's all they want to say. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on with the first thought that I have on here. I'm just going to start going through now and just going off of all the notes that I had. Because, man, I took a ton of notes, and I'm not going to lie to y'all. I was nervous during the Florida State game because I wanted to win that game so bad. I was nervous during the SMU game because I wanted to win that game so bad. This game, I honestly wasn't very nervous going into it. I felt like we had the better team. But once we got to like the third quarter, first, let me say this. I wasn't too nervous for two different things. One, I felt like we had the better team. And two, I kind of felt like, well, if we do lose this game, it was still kind of a success because we got to the playoffs and we've played competitively in the playoffs. So it almost felt like it was a win either way. But the closer we got to the end, I'm like, all we need is a play or two and we can actually win this game and then go play Ohio State. Are you serious? Like, the more I thought about that, I'm like, hey, man, we got to figure out a way to win this game. And my anxiety went through the roof. So, first quarter, the first notes that I have on here is talking about Reed. And it says, Reed started off comfortable. He looked a little too comfortable to me, and it concerned me like crazy. I've always been nervous and worried whenever we play against a team that has a quarterback with legs, a quarterback with wheels, especially a quarterback that's not afraid to use those wheels. That always scares me. A Lamar Jackson type. So we had done really well against those teams all season, but this time, for whatever reason, it seemed like it just wasn't like Jennings from SMU didn't really get off with his legs. Florida State's quarterback didn't really get off with his legs. This was the first time where I took my concern into the game about that. And then that concern came to fruition. I was like, oh, shucks, like we can't stop this dude. Like he just looked too comfortable. And then the longer the game went on in the first quarter, I got even more concerned because just go and look at the highlights. Go look at the first half again. Our defensive line, they weren't able to get to him too often. And whenever they did actually get outside of those offensive linemen and rush, he was just running right up the middle. And then when he did run up the middle, we had, I guess you would call it a mishap. I don't know what you would call it. But like Muhammad Toure one time just ran up to him and just did the stanky leg out of nowhere and fell down. Face planted, gave up a first down. Then the next third down, somebody else misses a tackle. First down. He just kept running for these first downs. I'm like, oh my gosh. He just looked a little too comfortable. And that concerned me because we weren't able to get pressure on him like I wanted to, or like I hoped we would. And then I typed out QB running for first down after first down. That, I'm telling y'all, it had me very, very concerned. I figured, okay, it looks like what we're going to have to adapt is a bend but don't break defense. This is what I was thinking like in the first quarter, the first couple of possessions. We're going to have to do some type of bend but don't break defense We allow them to get to the 10-yard line and just settle for field goals. And we just got to put touchdowns on the board over here while they kicking field goals over there. That was my mindset because I'm like, I don't know how we're going to be able to stop this dude consistently. But they only ended up putting up 3 points on the board, which is crazy. So I ended up typing out QB running for first down after first down. The next play after I typed that on my phone, I looked up and Scott got a sack and a fumble. I was like, thank you, thank you, thank you. I was so hyped when that happened. So hyped when that happened, man. Because it just seemed like it was like we were to the point where it's like, okay, we're either going to have to give up a wide open receiver somewhere sitting in one of those zone pockets for 5 or 6 yards, or we're going to give up 5 or 6 yards with him running. That's what it looked like. It was like a pick your poison situation. But then once we got that sack and fumble, I'm like, okay, that might change his mentality a little bit. Maybe he won't hold on to the ball so much longer anymore. But then can we also go ahead and give a round of applause for Keontae Scott? Now, I told y'all, I think it was the third game of the year. Fourth game of the year. I was talking about how good our defensive ends were. And I mentioned how I told people in the offseason, I was like, man, I don't really know how good Ruben Bain is. He was great his freshman season. His sophomore season, he just was out there, kind of decent. So I was like, I don't know which Ruben Bain is the real Ruben Bain. Turns out he's awesome. So after the fourth game or so, I was like, I apologize to Ruben Bain. He's official. He's a problem. He is really, really good. During that same video, I was like, well, I also got to tell y'all, as good as Ruben Bain is, as good as Mesidor is, my favorite player on defense is actually Keontae Scott. And some of the folks in that video were like, what? I said, this dude is everywhere. I don't know. I mean, I know where he came from. He came from Auburn, but the dude is everywhere. He's in the backfield, tackle for losses. He's breaking up screen passes. He is incredibly nosy, as I call it. If he sees something happening back there, he acts on his instincts and he jumps to it every time. He had 10 tackles today, 5 solos, 2 sacks, and 3 tackles for loss, man. The dude is ridiculous. And I've never seen in my entire, I've been watching football for 30 plus years. I have never seen a team use a nickel the way that Miami uses a nickel. Usually a nickel defender is like the third best corner on the field, or the corner that you put on the real shifty guy because you're like, hey, we're gonna line him up against the slot every down, and that's what we're gonna use him for. This dude is like a robber out there, though. He's blitzing consistently. He's running. He's like a run stopper. He's guarding the tight ends. He's guarding the slots. I've never seen a team use a nickel defender like this, ever. This would have been perfect for a player like Tyrann Mathieu, Honey Badger. He would have killed in this position. Killed. He played free safety most of the time. But Keontae Scott, exceptional. And I just wonder how much better Honey Badger would have been if he was playing in a situation like this. I'm so impressed by this Keontae Scott dude. And I'm thrilled and happy that he came back because all I heard was he's done for the season. And when I heard that he might potentially play, I said, oh, shoot. And I really do believe the people the guys that filled in for him while he was out, they did an outstanding job. Like you had Cam Pruitt come in and do some things. You had the freshman Fitzgerald come in and play outstanding while Keontae Scott was out. But I truly believe if Keontae Scott did not play in this game, I think we would have lost. He had a bunch of key plays that I don't know other people would have made. So, all right, the next thing that I have on here is Tony trick play. So there were multiple trick plays that they ran for Malachi Tony in the first quarter. Multiple. And I know a lot of people are going to complain and say, like, you're getting too cute. You're relying too much on all this tricky stuff. Like, just run it right at him. I really couldn't be mad at OC Dimples, to be honest with you, because I like whenever you complain to someone about something and then they change that thing, you cannot be upset when they continue moving forward a changed person. Does that make sense? So if all they did was run right up the middle all game and we say, use some imagination, brother, like do something different. And then he actually changes and he starts doing trick plays and he starts using his imagination and doing pre-snap motion and all that. We can't be upset when he's playing in a game and he's using pre-snap motion and doing trick plays. Like that's what we begged for him to do. Now that he's doing it, you can't get mad and say, go back to what you were doing. No, like we got to be fair with this stuff. So there were times in this game where I was like, ooh, that's a little too cute. But I couldn't kill the man because I'm like, I'd prefer to be doing that than to be running right up the middle every play. It is what it is. So what those trick plays did show me, though, is it showed me from the first quarter, I was like, oh, we ain't scared. We are being aggressive. We are having the mindset that I've begged for them to have since the beginning of the season. Remember, I told y'all they have to adapt the 2001 Miami Hurricanes mindset where they're thinking, we are going to put points on the board. We're not worried about sneaking out of here with a W. We're focused on putting up 30 points on the board if we can. We're not just going to hand the ball off, hand it off again. 3rd and 5. Now let's see if we can get a completion here. No, they being aggressive. And I know some folks are concerned about Carson Beck. He might throw an interception. I'm concerned about that too. But I also know being conservative, we're going to lose. We're just going to. So you might as well go balls to the wall and throw the ball. Be aggressive. Do some trick plays from time to time. So when I saw 2 Malachi Tony trick plays in the first quarter, I said, oh, yeah, we got our mind right. We're going to be aggressive today. I love to see that. The next thing I have on here is Miami looks, all caps, very concerned by A&M's 3rd down pressure. Y'all, I don't know. And then the next thing I typed out is A&M has 18 players on the field on each 3rd down. I don't know what A&M was doing, but it was ultra effective. And I've told y'all many times, you couldn't consider me to be any more than just a novice when it comes to football. I can tell you what I see. I can tell you what I think should happen, but I'm not ever going to sit here and tell y'all I know more than the head coach or what, like I just look at the results and say, that didn't work. They probably should do that. Just logical stuff. I tell you all the time, logic rules everything around me. It does. It rules everything around me. So when I look at these situations and I say, why, we're running the ball right up the middle and we're not getting any points. We probably should stop doing that. We probably should use a little imagination. This time I watched this game and 3rd downs were incredibly inefficient. I probably need to see what they were on 3rd down, but it was incredibly inefficient today. And usually when I'm watching this stuff, I say, well, all they got to do is this, just make this small adjustment and do that. I have to this, at this moment, an hour after the game, I have no suggestions on what we should have done differently on those 3rd and throws. 3rd and throwing downs, 3rd and 8, I have no idea what we should have done differently. None. It looked like they had 18 players on the field every time. Carson Beck would come back and it was like they were rushing 8 players at him. Then he would throw a quick out to somebody and then they would get swarmed by 10 players. And I'm like, where are all these players coming from? And if you knew anything about this team, they had the number 1 3rd down conversion defense in the country, number 1. And we saw it today. I don't care what y'all, you let me know in the comment section. 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 6. How do you beat whatever they were doing against us? How do you beat it? Because I still don't know. I'm telling you, usually I watch these games and I say, oh, I know. They should have done a draw. They should have done this. They should have been more effective. I don't know what they could have done differently on those 3rd downs. It was incredible. We were 3 for 12 on 3rd downs. And I can't blame anybody because, again, we couldn't even throw it. I saw one play where they rushed 7 and they just had one-on-ones everywhere else. And every receiver was glued. Like, he couldn't throw it anywhere. I'm like, hell, like, I don't know what I would do differently. So you let me know if you have any thoughts on what we should have or could have done differently on those third and throws, as I call it, third down, and you have to throw it. What do you think we could have done differently to be more efficient when it comes to those? Because I still don't know. But yeah, 18 players on third down is nuts. It looked like they just had way more players than we had. They were blitzing everybody. And on the exact same play, all of our guys were covered and they were swarming to the ball to tackle. It was like, hell, like it was crazy. Then I have 3rd and 6. This is the second quarter, my next note. 3rd and 6, Beck sacked and fumbled. And thankfully, Fletcher jumped on that ball. At this point in the game, I kept feeling like, okay, Texas A&M looks far more comfortable. Their offense looks far more comfortable than our offense at this point, and that concerned me like crazy. It looked like Carson Beck was sped up, looked like he was concerned about the rush, which he should have been because it kept getting to him over and over and over. Looked like he was really having a problem deciding who was going to be blitzing and who was going to be dropping back. He just looked overwhelmed for a good while. And that's part of what concerns me about Carson Beck getting to the NFL, because that kind of stuff happens almost every play in the NFL. You just got to be able to decipher it. Move the line this way, move the line that way. But man, it was people coming through untouched. It was all kind of crazy stuff in the first half that concerned me. The next thing I have on here is 60-yard pass, Texas A&M. The way that receiver tracked that ball in the air, I don't know how he caught that. That was really, really impressive. 60-yard, it was a 60-something yard play. He was running, and he wasn't just looking over the shoulder to get the ball. He was looking like straight up to catch it, and he ended up snagging it. If you go back and look at that play, the wind, it was obvious that the wind was doing something to that ball, because before it got to him, it was doing all kind of movement. So I'm like, how did this fool catch the ball? And I had a little bit of hope that they might call it incomplete, but it was a completed pass. Can't be mad at him. Ended up knocking the ball out of his hands, but it was a fumble out of bounds. So I'm looking at that play and I'm like, all right, they're looking even more comfortable now. They got a long pass. They get the ball there on the, 8-yard, probably 12-yard line. They go 3 and out. Bring the football, the field goal kicker out. Okay, it's 0-0. They're going to be up 3-0. And we just got to weather the storm here. And I'll be damned, we ended up blocking it. I don't know when's the last time the Hurricanes have blocked a punt or a field goal. So I honestly didn't even consider that. I was just thinking, please pull it or push it. Just miss it somehow. Let this wind get a hold of it, even though it's that close. Let the wind get a hold of it and move it right outside them goalposts. And we ended up blocking it. So I'm thinking, get away from it, get away from it. And I think Wesley Basaint ended up picking it up and trying to run it to the house. But that play was crazy, y'all. Crazy, crazy play. After this, I type in, let's go run first on offense. I put a post up on my YouTube channel, and I was asking people, what should our offense look like? If we're going to beat Texas A&M, should we have like a 65 to 35% run to pass, right? Or should it be 50-50? How should it be? And overwhelmingly, 65% pass, 35% run ended up winning that poll that I took. Overwhelmingly. And I had the same thought process. Let's be aggressive and throw the ball first, and then we'll run it from time to time. But when I saw how our offensive line was getting just outmanned, and I think outmanned is the wrong word. I think they were getting, for lack of a better phrase, let's just use outsmarted on this one. Because it seemed like they just could not tell where the pressure was coming from. They just could not figure it out in the pass protection. So I'm like, well, if we can't figure out how to block these dudes, we got to be more efficient on first and second down. So let's just be run first from now on, because running right up the gut has worked up to that point. That first and a half quarters, running the ball straight ahead at them was actually working. And running the ball outside the tackles was not working. So it was the complete opposite of what we've been dealing with all season, which was weird. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, maybe we should make an effort to stop running it outside and stop doing these reverses and all that stuff, we probably might be better off using a couple of possessions to see what it looks like if we do run it right up the middle like these other teams like Texas did. Because what else are we going to do? Going to keep on getting to 3rd and 8 and then getting sacked every play? Can't do that. So that's what I'm thinking. Let's just run it right up the middle. Next thing that happens, run for Fletcher for about 20 yards. And I'm like, okay, do it again. Let's see if it works again. Let's see if they can stop it. I've told y'all before, if I'm playing against LeBron James in basketball, it doesn't matter what kind of, or if I'm boxing against Anthony Joshua, it doesn't matter what game plan you give me. I cannot beat him. He's too big and too strong, too skilled, too educated. I cannot beat him. And that's kind of what I felt might have been going on with these Hurricanes against the Texas A&M Aggies front line, especially the interior portion of it. We've consistently said that our center is the weak link of the offensive line. But for whatever reason, it looked to me in the first half like if we had any type of strength, it might have been right up the middle, the area that we've been begging for us not to run all season. Crazy how God works, right? So we ran the ball right up the middle with Fletcher, 20 yards. I'm like, hell, do it again. Let's see if they just can't stop it. And if they can't stop it, do it all the way down the field, over and over and over, until they bite and then you do a play action over the top, obviously. But anyway, the next thing I have is the next play, a pass to Tony for 1 yard. That ended up putting us behind the sticks. Eventually, we ended up punting the ball. So I'm like, hell. Right before halftime, I'm getting more and more concerned. So I typed on here again. They are moving the ball, meaning Texas A&M. All caps, we are not, exclamation point. Looks bad. It looked super concerning to me. We just could not move the ball. Let me know in the comment section, were you concerned the first half just due to the fact that we could not move the ball? We could not move it. We couldn't throw it. We couldn't even, Carson Beck couldn't even hold on to the ball for 2 seconds. I hope that they show some advanced stats on this game eventually so we can see how long Carson Beck was able to hold the ball on those times he got sacked. He couldn't hold the ball for 2 seconds before he was getting sacked. It was unbelievable. So I'm like, they moving the ball. The only reason why they kept getting stopped is they were making just dumb mistakes. Instead of running and taking the 6 yards, Reed would try to throw it and throw it over somebody's head. Or instead of just handing the ball off again, they would try to throw it. It was just like they seemed to be making mistakes. We seemed like we just could not move the ball because their defense was too good. That's what it felt like in the first half, and that concerned me. So then I have Tony, huge punt return, but he got to figure out a way. And I know this is a weird request or a weird thing to say negatively, but he's got to figure out a way to get that ball into the end zone. My wife was in the living room at the time I was watching this game, and he was running. And when he got tackled, I was like, no, I'm screaming, no. And she was like, that was a good play, right? Like, she doesn't know anything about football. So she's like, that's a good play, right? I said, I'm telling you, when these Hurricanes almost score, they don't score. I don't know what that is, but I said, when we played against SMU, Malachi Tony had a long punt return where he could have potentially scored and he didn't. And we got only 3 points out of it. It's happened like 4 or 5 times this season. We've had long plays that we almost score on, and then we end up settling for 3, or we end up turning the ball over. It's happened consistently. So when he almost scored and didn't, he got his heel slapped, and then his foot ended up tripping behind the other one. I'm like, golly. I said, now we're not going to score. She's like, what? I said, you just watch. Of course, 3 and out. Plus, he smoked the field goal, y'all. Oh, my gosh. You talk about agony. Oh, my Lord. You talk about agony. Man, he missed that field goal. And the thing that came to mind when he missed that field goal, I know this sounds weird, y'all, but it reminded me of how, like, back when my wife and I used to interview and hire people. There's some other folks that do that for us now, thankfully. But back when we would interview people, my wife would have somebody come into the building and they would do an interview, and they'll be older ladies. And my wife would be like, she's an excellent candidate. I cannot believe she's interviewing. Like, she's the perfect hire. She can be the perfect employee. And I say, hey, pretty. I call my wife pretty. I say, hey, pretty. There's a reason why she's in here interviewing for this job. There's a reason why. This is a low paying job. It's an industry that a lot of people don't love. And I said, there's a reason why she's interviewing for this job. We don't know what that reason is, but eventually it's going to come. It's going to show itself. And sure enough, we'd hire these people that she was super interested in and super happy about. And they would end up showing their true colors right there towards the end. And we say, okay, that's why this perfect candidate was available. That's why right there. The true version of yourself will always come out. Always. Eventually will always come out. If you're hiring people and you have a low paying job that you're hiring for, and there's somebody that's coming in that's 50 years old and they're interviewing for this job, I'm telling you now, there's a reason why they're in that position. Just saying that, okay? So let's bring that back to this kicking position. Y'all, I'm telling you right now, we have a kicker problem. I'm telling you right now. I don't know if I know that one dude was named Bert Auburn or something from Texas. I think it was his name. I don't know where he is. And I know a lot of y'all say it was the wind. I'm telling you, it was not the wind. We have a kicker problem. I remember at the beginning of the season when they said that he was our kicker. And I'm going to keep pulling for him because, hell, he's our kicker. I'm going to keep pulling for him. When they first announced he was the kicker, I was like, okay, who is he? And I looked him up, and I remember he was like 4 for 11 or something the previous year. And I thought, how the hell did he win a kicking competition against somebody? He was 4 for 11? What? And then you're like, well, he won the competition. He's been excellent. Okay, cool. If you like it, I love it. Sounds good. And he's been excellent for us up to this point. But I'm telling you, on the back of my mind, I've always said, that 4 for 11 kicker, it's in him somewhere. It didn't disappear. And, they continue to say, oh, well, it's because he had bad snaps last year and his holder wasn't doing this right. And the long snapper was doing some weird stuff. That's why his kicking stats were so horrible last year. I don't believe that. Just like when I was concerned about Carson Beck's interceptions and y'all were telling me, well, it's because his receivers are so bad and they're dropping the ball. I said, I'm telling y'all, the guy that threw all them interceptions, he's still inside that number 11 somewhere. I don't know where it's at, but it's in there somewhere. It's going to show itself eventually. It will. And what happened? It showed itself. So our kicker, I'm telling y'all right now, we have a kicking problem. Carter Davis was 1 for 4 today. 25%. His longest was 21 yards. I can almost kick a 21-yard field goal. The field goal that he missed, the first one, it looked like just the wind got it. It ain't no big deal. The second one, when he missed that one, I said, oh yeah, we got a big old problem here. We have a kicker problem. When the way he missed it, it was all up here. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't a bad hold. It wasn't bad anything. Perfect everything. He just was lost up here. So, I'm telling y'all, when people tell you who they are, you have to believe them. You got to. That 4 of 11, it wasn't a fluke. 4 of 11 is who this guy is. He's just been on a hot streak. He's been performing like crazy. And I'm telling you, do not be shocked if he looks crazy like this next game too. I'm telling you. If I'm wrong, I'll come on here and say I'm wrong next week. I'm praying that we don't have a mindset of thinking that we need to just rely on the kicker next week. Because I'm telling y'all, got a kicker problem. I'm telling you. I'm not saying I think this. I'm telling y'all, I know this just based on some of the things that happened during that game. I know we got a kicker problem. I saw this. I'm a Buccaneers fan. We ended up getting Arroyo from Florida State. What's his name? Arroyo? I think his name was Arroyo. No, Anyway, y'all know what I'm talking about. Florida State kicker. He was like the most accurate kicker of all time in college football. My Buccaneers ended up drafting him. He got to the NFL. He missed his first few kicks. I said, he's shot. He's done. My friends was like, he's the most, like, just give him some time. He'll be just fine. He was the most accurate kicker of all time in college. He's going to be just fine. I said, I'm telling y'all, I know how this works. I understand the psychology of this stuff. That brother is shot. And he was shot. He didn't play too much more after that. He was done. I kind of feel like this is where we headed here. I think Carter Davis had a bad season last year, 4 for 11. I think they got his confidence level where it needed to be this season. He figured, oh, yeah, I'm going to blame. This sounds bad, but he's figured, oh, yeah, we can just say the issues with my kicking, it was all due to the snapper. It was all due to the holder. It was all due to that stuff. I'm a new man. I'm a good kicker. Watch. And he went forward with that the whole time without missing. And then once he got a miss, it started creeping into his head. Well, hell, am I a good kicker? Is this stuff? And then he missed another one. Oh, man, it's going to go downhill like it did last season. Oh, man, maybe I am a bad kicker. Maybe I am 4 for 11 type of guy. Maybe I am a 38% kicker. Off the top of my head, I think that's like 38%, 37% maybe. But I'm telling you, well, we can move on. But I'm just telling y'all right now, this is the last time I'm going to say it. We have a kicker problem because the stuff that happened last year is starting to seep back into his head saying, well, hell, maybe I am that 4 for 11 guy. And the more he played in this game, the more he started believing that he is the guy from last year more than he is the guy that played this year. He got some doubts going on. So you got to see a psychologist, a sports therapist or something. I don't know. But boy, that was rough. 1 for 4 was rough. If he would have made those 4 field goals, this game is out of reach. Like, we win this game easily. So that's that. All right. Offensive line. The next thing I type. Offensive line looks confused and incredibly overwhelmed. And they did. One of the things that people kill Mario Cristobal over is his lack of adjustments. His lack of being willing to change just from his philosophy. So there's 2 different things that I'm talking about. 1 is just changing from his philosophy that he has. 2 is the part where you adjust at halftime. You say, all right, this is what they're doing, so let's go ahead and switch it up and do this from now on. People say he doesn't do either one of those things well. And I'm thinking, that's been your thing. Like, that's what people have said about you for your whole coaching career. So this is the perfect time to kill that. This is the perfect time to go into halftime and say, all right, the one thing that I do know very well is offensive line. Y'all are struggling. All you got to do is XYZ, make that small adjustment, and we'll be just fine going forward. That's what I typed on here. We need a halftime adjustment. Got to have it. Got to have it. And then the last thing I have the next thing I have is we're missing a whole bunch of open tackles. And then in parentheses, I said all open tackles. That's what it felt like. First half, it seemed like every time our receivers caught the ball, they were being wrapped up and tackled immediately. And it seemed like when they would catch the ball, they would break the first tackle every time. That concerned me. It's like, can we not adjust to the speed or something? Like, we supposed to be a speed team. What's happening? That scared me like crazy. And then I typed, we aren't getting pressure. They are. We aren't moving the ball. They are. Concerning. So as you can see, I was super concerned throughout the majority of this game, mainly because it felt like they were, like, if you watch a basketball game and you've got one team that's out there throwing up crazy 3-pointers and making them, and you got the other team who can just throw it down to Shaq and he catching it and dunking it every time, and the score is tied at halftime, you're like, okay, they're not going to keep on throwing these balls up backwards and hitting them off the backboard, hitting all these threes. But they can get Shaq to dunk it every single time. So Shaq's team is going to end up winning because they're scoring easier. It felt to me like Texas A&M was in that Shaq position where they were moving the ball much easier than we were. They were getting open receivers much easier than we were. And the only reason why they were being stopped was mistakes that they were making. That's what it felt like to me. And that's why I was getting a little anxious during this game. Fake punt. and we were ready. I remember thinking during the SEC championship game, was the SEC? It was the Big Ten of the SEC championship game. It was a team that faked a punt. And I remember thinking, I was like, I wonder if our coaches would have the acumen or the wherewithal to have our team prepped to check out of things on a special teams play if something doesn't quite look right. I was like, I don't know if our coaches would be able to do something like that. And they pulled it off, y'all. The Hurricanes went out there and I'm screaming, watch the fake. Watch the fake. I'm screaming like crazy. And they were ready for it. I think it was Fitzgerald. Might have been a pass interference because he got to him a little early maybe, but he was ready for it. Against a lot of teams out there, that receiver would have been wide open. You saw what happened when Notre Dame faked a punt and they threw it against Stanford. Yeah, they faked the punt against Stanford and ran like 65 or 70-yard touchdown on a fake punt. Just wide open. Stanford didn't even consider that it might be a fake. So in this game, I love the fact that we were ready for it. So excellent job, coaching staff, for that. And then the next thing I have is first run. So, I was saying maybe we should try this run first mentality and see what happens. So we had a run first mentality, ended up yielding a 3rd and 8 with 32 seconds left. So didn't do much for us. And I'm thinking on this 3rd and 8, maybe we should try a draw play and see what happens. Ended up being a CJ catch for first down, which was nice. Then there's 10 seconds left, and I'm screaming, just throw a jump ball. Throw a jump ball and see what happens. Throw it because we couldn't move the ball. So my thought process was like, throw the ball up to CJ Daniels because he had, 2 catches for 29 yards. His longest was 15 yards. Y'all know how this fool, like CJ Daniels, makes some incredible catches all season. So I'm like, they got one-on-one everywhere. Just have him line up on one side of the field, have him run to the end zone and just throw a jump ball to him. And they actually did that, but Carson Beck, I don't know if the ball got snatched up by the wind or what. He didn't even give him a chance to catch the ball. So that was unfortunate. And after that, I think we got 10 or 7 seconds left or something. I said, do it again. Throw another jump ball to him and see what happens. Because it was 0-0 at that time. I'm like, just throw it into the end zone. Let's see what happens here. And ended up not throwing it again. Missed another field goal. That field goal wasn't even close. And then I have, let's talk about the kicker, but we've already discussed it on this video, so we're not going to go into it anymore. All right. We had 69 yards, total yards at halftime. Oh boy. Every time we win, I watch the game multiple times. I don't suspect that I'm going to watch this game multiple times. I probably will watch the second half a couple more times, but that first half, I'm going to throw that away. That was rough. So, third quarter. I have 2 good passes because they started doing it seemed like they did make an adjustment at halftime, which is really nice. And I said they have 2 good passes. We did like some quick outs, 2 quick out routes, and we ended up gaining quite a few yards on them. I think we ended up gaining like 30 yards on those 2 out routes. And then we did a reverse, and it got us -3 yards. I'm like, that's when I was thinking, we got a little too cute. But I said, hey, I can't be mad about that because we begged this man to have some imagination. Now that he is exercising some imagination, we can't get too mad at him. And then what happens next? A big Fletcher run, huge Fletcher run. He exercised like some really nice patience today. That's what I think his experience did for us. Him being a veteran college football player, the fact that he was able to get the ball, wait behind the line, see what develops, and then hit the hole, it worked out perfectly. The first half, I was begging to see a little bit of change of pace, put a different back in there. But now it makes sense to me why they kept Fletcher out there. They wanted some experience out there. He was outstanding today. His average was crazy. He had 17 carries for 172 yards. That's 10 yards a carry. And it's crazy that he didn't get a touchdown. Seems like if you run 172 yards, you would have at least 3 touchdowns. But anyway, he was balling out today. I think we can all agree to that. And then the next thing I have on here is Canes are finally making players miss. It seems like whatever was given to them verbally at halftime, it was working. It felt like they went into the locker room, like on Space Jam when they were drinking that secret stuff that was just water. It seemed like the Hurricanes drank some secret stuff in there because they came out like a different team. 4th and goal, we get the ball all the way to the 2-yard line. And I'm sure a whole lot of folks are saying, we got to go for it. We haven't been in the red zone too often. This drive is looking really nice. We got to go for it. And I was thinking, nah, take the points. The reason why I felt like we should take the points is actually multiple reasons. One, I felt like we needed to give our kicker an easy one just to get his confidence level back. Just like in basketball, if you're missing a bunch of shots, you need to drive to the goal, get fouled so you can get to the free throw line and make a couple easy ones, see the ball go through the net. And that's what I felt like we needed to do with our kicker. Give him an easy one. Give him a little 21-yarder so he can see the ball go through the uprights and feel good about himself again. So that was one of the reasons why. And then the other thing is, on a 4th and 2, what play are you going to call? Like, what are you going to call? We have not been the best when it comes to being like at the 5-yard line, 4-yard line. We just have not been great at that. Look at what happened twice at the end of the first half against SMU and in overtime on the last snap against SMU. Our short yard passing has not been sweet at all. So I'm like, yeah, I say go ahead and kick it for those 2 reasons. Next thing. I started to notice, I think it was like halfway through the second quarter, maybe about halfway through the second quarter, that Marcel Reed, he didn't look I think it was like when that sack happened, he got stripped, it seemed like he just flipped a switch all of a sudden. He looked a little more human all of a sudden. And it was like his ball, like every time he would throw the ball, it would like sail over players and got a little bit off target from time to time. I said, okay, we might be able to turn him over from time to time. We might be able to get an interception out of him. And that next possession, he throws the ball, it sails a little too much. Fitzgerald gets an interception. Fitzgerald is exceptional in the fact that the football seems to find him all of the time. And a lot of folks will say that's luck. It's not luck. It's just knowing where to be. And if you know where to be, the ball will find you. So he ended up getting the interception, and I'm screaming, you got to score it. You got to score it. You got to score it. Because I'm thinking, I don't know what our offense can give us this game. Every time, if we got an interception or if there was a fumble on the ground, I'm like, pick it up and score it. We need a defensive score. We need a special team score. Because I just didn't think our offense could get us a touchdown today. And then after that interception, I typed in all caps, we need a touchdown, not a field goal. We need a touchdown. I think he ran the ball to like the 35-yard line maybe. We have to figure out a way to get the ball all the way to the end zone this time. But Carson Beck passed to the end zone. And if that ball didn't get tipped, just go back and look at it. It would have been intercepted. It was a safety that was closing in on it, about to intercept it. And the linebacker jumped up and tipped it. And when the linebacker tipped it, the safety jumped up like, oh, because he knew he had an interception. Easy one. So I'm like, oh boy. Do we continue being aggressive? And you can just imagine like what the coaches be thinking on the sideline. Like, that would have been an interception. So do I continue being aggressive or do I slow down a little bit since the defense is playing so well and just be like a run first, conservative type offense? What do I do here? He had to do that quite a bit when we had Tyler Van Dyke as the quarterback. He had to just dial it back and say, we're not going to lose this game. Maybe we won't win it. Maybe the offense and the quarterback won't win the game, but I'm not going to allow the quarterback and the offense to lose it either. So it was a little bit of going on. There's a little bit of this going on with that, I'm sure, after he saw that almost interception. Anyway, missed another field goal after that. So we got an interception and missed the field goal. That hurt because it felt like we had an opportunity to seize the game, close the game out, choke them out, and we just failed at it. Like, didn't get any points. Not only did we fall short of getting a touchdown, we didn't get any points after getting an interception. That is hard to do, man. That's tough. So then I type out, how do we respond from this? I felt like that most likely would be the like if we lost, I'll be able to point back at that and say, that's how we lost right there. We got no points out of that possession. So I'm like, how are we going to respond from this? The next possession, Reed ends up running 15 carries for 27 yards. It doesn't sound like a lot, but those 27 yards were really timely. Well, on that next possession, Marcel Reed drops back and he's like scrambles to the right side of the field for them. And the commentators mentioned that he scrambled to the wrong side of the field because he didn't have any receivers on this side. But my thought process is there's actually no help over there either because there's no corners, there's no safeties because they're all over there guarding all the receivers. So what happened on this play? Keontae Scott runs up and makes an outstanding open field tackle on Marcel Reed. If he did not make that tackle, Reed wouldn't have 27 yards. He probably would have had 57 or 67 yards. He would have been gone on that play. So that open field tackle was huge for us. And then OJ Frederic basically suplexes KC Concepcion. Basically, like he just threw him out of bounds. I have no idea how that was not a flag. I'm shocked to this point. Like at this point right now, I cannot believe they didn't call a flag on that. I promise you this. If that was in the ACC, I promise you that would have been a flag. I promise you it would have been. So it's a wonderful thing that the ACC guys were not calling that because it would have been a flag, and I honestly think it should have been a flag. So got bailed out there. Next thing is Mesidor missed a sack, and then Bain ended up cleaning that sack up. Y'all remember during the week, Texas A&M, their offensive line was doing all that talking, saying that they'll be just fine. They're not worried about Bain because, Bain is only from Bain and Mesidor. They're just from the ACC. Like we've played against the SEC schools all this time. Like we are ready for this little team. Like for real, y'all think we should be concerned about Ruben Bain, overrated Ruben Bain from the ACC when we've been playing against SEC defensive ends all season? We'll be just fine. How do y'all think they feel now? I'm telling y'all, first half, the defensive line couldn't get much going. That second half, they got it turned up. It's obvious when the opposing offense, when they do a hurry-up offense against us, Mesidor and Bain, they go from like being, if you rate these teams or you rate these players, they go from being like a 97 on college football, rate them 97 out of 100 or out of 99. That's how they are when they're fresh. They're both like 90, 96, 97. 6'7". Anyway, so they're both like 96, 97. But when they get tired, that cliff they go off of is crazy work. They go from like a 97 to like a 65. They are trash when they're tired. I think it's kind of funny sometimes watching them. It's like, my man, Mesidor is not even moving. Like, he'd be so tired. He don't even be moving. So when they start doing that hurry-up offense against us, it really does impact our defensive ends like crazy. I think every team we play against going forward, they will do that. They will exercise that to see if it works. Obviously, it will because that's what Louisville did against us. SMU did that against us. That hurry-up offense makes our defensive ends so damn tired. And then they can't get off the field because they won't do any subs. It's just like, oh, my gosh. So, but that play, I loved it because I truly believe that Mesidor and Bain, I think Bain probably has more natural abilities than Mesidor, but I think Mesidor has more skill than Bain does. So I thought it was cool that we've been talking about how excellent these defensive ends are, and people are saying like, they're not that good. Y'all just haven't played anybody. They're not that good. And on this play, Mesidor gets to the quarterback, misses him, and then Bain beats his guy so tough, he's right there to wrap him up and bring him down. So I'm like, y'all can't block these fools. You cannot block them. They are too good. It's obvious. And it's not like only Mesidor got loose or only Bain got loose. They both got loose on the same play. This one might have missed the quarterback, but then this one cleaned him up. You can't block them dudes, man. Fourth quarter rolls around. By this time, I am an absolute mess. I'll tell you, I went into this thing feeling like we were playing with football, just like, hey, man, if we win, cool. If we lose, cool. At least we made it this far. That's kind of how I felt. House money. That's how I felt. But the longer we got into this, I'm like, hey, we can actually win this game. Like, we got it. We just need a play or two. We just need a play or two. Let's just finish this thing out. At first I'm thinking, obviously I want to win, but a loss wouldn't be terrible because it's still a success for the season. But once you get down there towards the end, it's like, man, we actually have a chance. 1 or 2 plays, and we get to go play Ohio State. Shoot. Okay. 4th down. 3rd and 3. This is where I start off with my notes. 3rd and down. In the 4th quarter. 3rd and 3. Y'all, I don't know what it is about my man David Blay, but he cannot, for the life of him, figure out how to stop jumping off sides. He's done this consistently. I mean, all season he's done it. He's lined up right over the center, so the ball is right in front of him. And every time they give him a fake snap, he plows through the center. We've seen him do that at least 3 times this year. One time against, I think it was SMU, right after the first half, he jumped off sides for the 2nd time of the game. And I was laughing because he didn't even wait to see what the call was. He didn't look around. He just instantly started running to the sideline. And it was obvious to me that the defensive line coach told them, the next one of y'all to jump off sides, come and sit next to me because you're done for a while. And that's what Blade did. He jumped off sides and he just ran to the sideline. But this one hurt so bad because Texas A&M started they start the ball. They start with the ball. They get a 1st down. Okay. Then I think they get another 1st down. Then they get to a 3rd and 3. And I'm like, we got to hold them, y'all. And I'll be damned if Blade didn't just jump off sides and give him a 1st down. I'm like, come on. So the next thing I have on here is Mesidor's sack. Mesidor got super busy. What did his stats look like today? Just overall. I don't really like looking at defensive stats too much because I think not in my mind, my mentality is so many times when you're on the defensive side of the ball, you can impact the game in an incredible amount, but it doesn't show up in the stats. If you have to get double teamed every play and they keep you from getting a sack, just imagine how much that double team is doing to the entire game because now they've only got 3 offensive linemen to block these other 3. So everybody else gets one-on-ones. So you've impacted the game big time, even though you didn't get any stats. So that's part of why I don't really love looking at stats for defensive players. But it shows right here, Ruben Bain ended up getting, where's he at? Ruben Bain, 5 tackles, 4 solo. He ended up getting 3 sacks. I think it's and 4 tackles for loss. Beautiful thing. That is a beautiful thing. When somebody, I don't want to say calls you out, but when somebody says, basically, I'm not worried about these dudes, man. When somebody comes out there and says that about you, and then you go out and you have 3 sacks in 1 game, what? My man showed out. So I love to see it, man. And then you got Mesidor over here, 5 tackles total, 1 solo, 1.5 sacks. So those 2 combined for 4.5 sacks against an SEC school, y'all, with an S. And guess what? They actually have an SEC offensive line. Are you kidding me? So we got 2 players that have 4.5 sacks with an SEC team that actually had SEC players blocking them. What? Who'd have thunk it, right? Who'd have thunk? Who would have thunk? So they balled out. They balled out. Let me say this too. Part of me was so frustrated when we were in the situation to basically not make the playoffs, mainly because I knew what we had in our defensive line. I was like, there's nobody that's going to be able to block them. They cannot be blocked. So I felt like we were basically throwing a whole season away. That killed me. Like it hurt because I'm like, this defensive line is going to be just gone next year. Mesidor is gone. Bain is gone. So I'm like, so I think Moton's gone too, right? Blay is gone. So I'm like, man, we waste this opportunity with this defensive front and Mohamed Toure. And we got all these players all over the field. And I'm like, we are going to waste this and not even make the playoffs. When you got players on your team that are basically the big joker, I think Ruben Bain and Mesidor is the big joker. You cannot stop him. It's the same analogy I gave earlier about LeBron and me playing basketball. You can't stop him. It doesn't. When we watched Mesidor and Bain on that final possession, that to me is the possession. So when we played against Notre Dame and we saw Ruben Bain and Mesidor, we saw them, what they did to Notre Dame on that last possession. That to me was like the perfect microcosm of who that defensive front is. They just cannot be blocked. So what they did in that last possession at Notre Dame, they just wrecked the game. And that's what they've done for the entire season. It's just been a microcosm of the entire season. So it's part of why I was so hurt and frustrated that we were potentially not going to make the playoffs. Because I'm like, we are wasting two jokers. You can't stop them. You cannot stop them. They turned, I think it was Bain, turned their offensive offensive tackle in a circle. He turned a complete circle. So when Notre Dame was doing all that talking, I said, y'all, you got the same guys blocking. The same guys that you had blocking in the first game, they're going to be blocking this game too if we played y'all again. Y'all cannot block them. There's nothing you can do to block these two. They're too good. They're too fast. They're too strong. The same thing is going to happen. You couldn't block them then, and you can't block them now. It's the Joker. I mean, it don't matter what you play. You play the Ace of Spades, playing a Joker. I win. You play the King of Diamonds, boom, I'm playing a Joker. I win. Every time. It's the wild card. It's the Joker. So that's how I feel defensive ends are. It's just overwhelming for anybody that's playing against them. And you got to change your entire offense just to stop them too. And it's not like Texas A&M, they were blitzing like crazy. They were just sending too many players from different directions and our offensive line couldn't figure it out. That's one thing. But when you've got just four guys rushing you and you cannot stop those four guys, what do you do about it? You can't do anything about it. So anyway, the next play I have on here was hurtful, y'all. It was when Tony fumbled that ball. Oh my goodness. That was around the time where I said, hey man, I think we're going to lose. It was tied up. It was tied up. It was 3-3. We had just got the ball back, and then we fumbled on like the first play. I was like, oh, this momentum is shifted like crazy. We had a chance to go up multiple possessions. We didn't. They tied it up. We get the ball back. We fumble. I said, they're going to end up scoring a touchdown here, and we're going to be in trouble. But, part of the reason why that play bothered me so much is because Malachi Tony was stressing out on that sideline over there, and I could feel for him. He wants to win so bad. I remember my brother being like that. He would be crying in a game because he wanted to win so bad. So the reason why it was almost like PTSD. Remember what happened last year when we got basically knocked out of the playoffs against Syracuse? The most reliable player that we had the entire season, Restrepo, what happened in that last game? He fumbled and ended up picking it up and taking it all the way back the other way. Our most reliable player, Xavier Restrepo, of all players, he fumbles and ended up taking it all the way back. It was like, oh my gosh, like all these great plays that Restrepo did for us last season. And the play that ended up killing us was his fumble. And I felt like that was basically what just happened when Tony fumbled. I'm like, man, our most reliable guy, Malachi Tony, is out there fighting for yards, and he fumbles. That's what it reminded me of. But can we not just take a second real quick? Even if he would have fumbled, we would have lost the game. I still would have had to come on here and tell y'all, this dude, Malachi Tony, is exceptional. I mean, like, he's like near magical. When he gets the ball in his hands, it's just like, it's crazy to me. Whether it's a reverse or a jet sweep or a punt return, every time, I kid you not, every single time he catches the punt, if he's not doing a fair catch, I'm like, he about to score. Every time. I can't think of a player that I've had that thought process. Maybe like a Duke Johnson back in the day, like when Duke Johnson would catch a running back a screen pass, I'd be like, he probably would score on this. Malachi Tony, every time he gets his hand on a punt, I think he's going to score every time. I don't even think he has scored on a punt return this season. Has he? Let me know in the comment section if he has scored on a punt return this year. I don't think he has. But he's gotten close a couple of times. But I still believe every time he touches it, I'm like, he probably about to score. But he's exceptional, man. That young dude is exceptional. I think we've all gotten to the point now where we can crown him saying he's the best freshman that the Hurricanes have ever had. I think we can all agree to that by now. Canes, let me think. Where do I want to go on this one? Mesidor sack, Tony fumble. Oh, that hurt. I really thought when that happened, I thought we were probably going to lose. You know, sometimes after you lose a game, what I typically do is I'll say, when did I start to realize that we probably were going to lose? And if we did lose this game, I would have thought back to that play and said, that's when I realized we were probably going to lose this game, was when he fumbled that ball. Next play I have on here is Bain sack with 4:38 to go. And then we declined a penalty. Bain got up like, he saw the flag. He was like, what did I do? Like, what? He thought they called a flag on him, apparently. That was a huge play. I was so concerned about Reed using his legs. I was like, he going to just try to escape and run. That's all he can do. That's their best offense so far. Have him drop back, look down the field, and then scamper for 8 to 10 yards. Kept doing it. So that sack was big. And I'm looking at Mario Cristobal. Brother, whatever you do not accept this illegal hands to the face. Do not do it. Please don't do it. He's on the sideline. He's looking back and forth, talking to the ref, and he's going back and looking at people. Brother, you just got a sack. There's only 4:30 left. Decline it, please. Please decline it. And then they kept deliberating over there. And I'm screaming at the TV, decline it. And he actually walked over to Heatherman. And Heatherman was like, yeah, decline it. And he was like, okay, yeah, we'll decline it. And he looked at the ref, decline. Thank you. So I believe he would have came to that conclusion by himself. But I am encouraged, I'll say, that he's not afraid to look at his staff and be like, I should do this, right? Like, you know, we've had issues in the past with time management and different things like that. So I'm glad that he's firm on not trying to be right, but trying to get it right. I think that's important. Quit trying to be right and focus on getting it right. So I think that's a really good improvement for him. Next play that I have written on here is Fletcher big run. My man was dragging people down the field. When I first saw that play, I thought, you know, if they would have had a different running back in, a change of pace running back, like say a Pringle, I was like, he probably would have scored that. But I think everything worked out exactly the way that it should have on that play. For one, I think if Pringle was in there, he wouldn't have been able to stiff arm and drag the guy 30 more. I think it was like 25 more yards after he made contact. He ran like 25 more yards. I don't think Pringle would have been able to outrun the guy, to outrun his angle. I think he would have ended up getting tackled around the 50. So Fletcher ended up, instead of going down at the 50, he ended up getting to like the 25-yard line or something crazy like that. That allowed us to run off even more clock. So had he scored, let's say if Pringle was in there and he did outrun that guy's angle, they'd have gotten the ball back with like 4 minutes left. But since we got tackled and we ran maybe 4 or 5 more plays, that ran off even more clock. So when they got the ball back, they only had like a minute and a half left or something like that. After that big Fletcher play, that big old huge run was crazy. I type on here, please run it right up the middle again. It was obvious to me they could not stop it. They could not. It was me against LeBron again. They could not stop it. I said, do it again. So what they do, ran the ball with Fletcher again. He ended up getting like 12 yards, I think. I said, oh yeah, we got these boys. The clock is ticking. It looked like we had figured out where our advantage was and we're just going to keep on milking it. So it's to the point where it's like, you can let us walk to the end zone and we can kick a field goal with 3 seconds left from the 2-yard line, or you can let us score now and see what you can do with 2 minutes left. And ended up third and short. What is it, 3rd and 2? I'm thinking, run it right up the middle. I'm sorry. I know I've reverted back to what we were doing with playing against SMU when we learned our lesson of not being stupid and ramming the garage with our helmet all day, seeing what changes. But for whatever reason, my mentality went back to the SMU game. I said, it's 3rd and 2, they can't stop us. Run it right up the middle again. And that there proves why Jordan Harris is sitting here talking to you on this mic instead of being on the sideline for the Hurricanes. Excellent play call by O.C. Dimples. I told y'all, when he was going through his struggle and people were saying he sucked, I'm telling y'all, this dude knows what he's doing. I've seen it too much. I've seen it. I saw how he looked when Tyler Van Dyke was looking like Tyler Van Dimes. I saw those plays, calling some excellent plays. Then I saw what it looked like when he turned into Tyler Van Don't, throwing the ball to the other team over and over and over. He just shut all of his imagination down and got conservative because he knew his quarterback wasn't in his right mind. So we got to a situation where Carson Beck threw 6 interceptions in 3 games. He threw 4 against Louisville, and then he threw 2, I think, against SMU. And he looked kind of shaky. So what did he end up doing? It made sense that during those 3 games, that 3-game stretch, he got super conservative. And people were saying, Shannon Dawson sucks. Get him out of here. I'm telling y'all, he's not the problem. The problem is that Shannon Dawson is trying to protect his quarterback because he knows his quarterback is struggling like crazy. And he doesn't want to have him out there throwing the ball all over the field, 5 wide. Get out there and just go look at your first read. If that's not open, look at the second. If that's not open, go to the third. If that's not open, split the corners, split the safeties. He don't want to put him in that situation when he threw 6 interceptions in 3 games. But now Carson Beck is looking a little more comfortable, a little more confident, a little less overwhelmed. He's able to open up the playbook a little bit more and trust him a little bit more. So what did he do on this 3rd and 2, I think it was? Faked the run up the middle and went around the outside with Malachi Tony for the touchdown. When I tell y'all I went crazy, I went crazy. By that time, my wife and my daughters had gone to the store, so they were gone. So nobody was there like, you know how it can be when your family's all around doing this and doing that and asking for diapers. And where is this and where is that? I was able to just focus on the game. And by this time, I was super focused, laser focused on what was happening. He scored that touchdown. I went crazy. Not as crazy as it was probably just as crazy as I got whenever we found out we were in the playoffs. Probably right around the same level of crazy here. But boy, was I hyped. Tony's touchdown was crazy. I kind of felt like maybe he should have gotten the first down and then got down. And then we just kneeled the ball a couple times, kick a field goal with 3 seconds left and win it. That's kind of what I feel like we should have done still at this point right now. I still feel like we should have done that. And I know some of y'all will say, when you can score, you got to just put points on the board. But I feel like the best option is to get the ball not on the right hash, not on the left hash, put it right in the middle from the 3-yard line, 2-yard line, and say, get out there and kick this damn field goal and do not miss it. And it's only 3 seconds left. If we miss it, we go into overtime. If we win it, game's over, we win. That's what I would prefer to do, because I kind of feel like if A&M would have scored on that last drive, they might have gone for 2. Can you imagine how much that would have hurt? Oh my gosh. Ugh. Anyway, they get the ball back with just a minute or so left. And the first play, so I'm thinking, hey y'all, we've held them to 3 points for 59 minutes. They got 3 points. Let's shut them out, please. Don't let them drive all the way down there in the last minute if we've held them to 3 points in 59 minutes. Come on now. And what proceeded to happen? They proceeded to give up a touchdown. That's what it looked like, at least. They got a nice big gain on the first play. Plus, Blunt had a personal foul roughing the passer, which was kind of weird. Didn't like that call. I think he might have touched his helmet. I think their helmet's bumped a little bit, which is why he got it. They drive all the way down the field. Casey Concepcion catches the ball runs across the middle, goes out the 4-yard line. I'm like, oh my Lord, don't let these fools score. I told you at the beginning of the game, I figured if we win, great. If we lose, at least we got here. I was kind of feeling like that at the beginning. At this point, I was completely sold out on we have to win. My mentality had changed like crazy. We cannot lose because we were just so close. So on that play when Casey Concepcion ended up getting that first down and getting out at the 4-yard line, go back and look at that. There was a holding call that got missed like crazy. And I think it was on Mesidor. The dude just grabbed him, around the stomach. I couldn't believe they didn't call that. Yeah, that was a shocker to me. So anyway, they get to the 4-yard line. It was 30 seconds left. I'm like, hell, we in trouble. So I'm thinking, all right, what's going to happen next? And I just started screaming, we need a turnover. We need a fumble. We need a strip sack. We need an interception. We need something. We need a turnover. I do not want to go into overtime with these boys. They're looking a little more confident, even though our offense is looking more confident too, because we found out what was working. I don't want to go into overtime. Let's end it right now. And I damn sure don't want to be 2-point conversion with 3 seconds left. We're up by 1. I don't want to be in that situation. I don't know if my heart can handle it. So we get the next play. The way that he threw the ball. So Marcel Reed is back there looking. The way that he threw the ball, I knew we were going to intercept it. How did I know that? Because I've seen Carson Beck do the exact same thing. When they get back there and they got a little too much time and things are a little off schedule and there's a bunch of defenders back there, they make bad decisions. It's what Carson Beck has done all season. If Carson Beck doesn't have things on time, get the ball, 1, 2, 3, throw. Get the snap, 1, 2, 3, throw. If he can't do that, he gets the ball, he starts patting it, he starts fake, interception. When Marcel Reed threw that ball, he threw it leaning back and went did one of those, pulled his hand back right after he threw it. I was like, that might be intercepted because the ball kind of went up like he was trying to throw it over the top. I didn't have an all 22 angle or anything, but I saw when he threw it, his hand jerked back a little bit. Plus the ball looked like it was hanging, like he threw it up and he wasn't trying to throw it between a couple of people. So I'm like, oh, that ball kind of hanging. Somebody going to intercept it. And who did it? The freshman. This freshman class is crazy, y'all. We got a crazy freshman class. This football team is in excellent hands. Fitzgerald comes up with that ball. The way he intercepted it was beautiful too. You typically hear in NFL or any kind of football, you don't let the receiver cross your face. But this receiver actually did cross his face. And instead of panicking and grabbing him or something like that, he just went under him. So he went boom up in front. And once that guy crossed his face, he just went undercut, went and got the ball and went straight down to the floor with it, straight down to the ground. Interception. Boy, I could have cried. I was so happy. I've never cried in a movie in my life. I'm not a crier. I'm just not a crier. I honestly felt like I could cry watching it. I was like, oh my gosh. Maybe it's because I had all these emotions going on with my friend and whatnot. But I'm telling you, I haven't felt that level of joy in a very long time. Very long time. Maybe that means my priorities are all screwed up. I don't know. But man, I haven't felt that level. Not happiness, but the word is joy. Like I was so like beyond happy. It's crazy. And it's all kind of stuff that's wrapped into it. It's like the way that the committee kept having Notre Dame in front of the Hurricanes all season. I felt like they were just doing us wrong. I'm like, that is wrong, because it wasn't like an opinion thing. Their bylaws said head to head is supposed to matter. So the fact that they had us behind a team that we won head to head with, I felt like it wasn't that somebody had a bad opinion that differed from mine. I felt like what they were doing was wrong. That's why it concerned me and frustrated me so much. So for them to actually get into the playoffs and then win the game against a team that a lot of people considered the best team in the country for a while. Remember, throughout the first 4 weeks, people were saying maybe the Hurricanes should jump Ohio State because they look exceptional. I think it was like week 5, people were saying that. Well, like week 6, 7, 8, 9, throughout those weeks, people were saying the same thing about A&M. They're like, Indiana's really good, but Texas A&M might be the best team in the country. People consistently said that. So for us to go into this game, actually beat Texas A&M, not just beat them on some fluky stuff, we held them to 3 points. And we didn't just hold them to 3 points because they just kept making mistakes, which they did in the first half, but we beat them on the offensive line and the defensive line. We just beat them. If we played them again, if we played Texas A&M on a neutral site, I think we'd beat them by 10 points. I really believe if we played indoors somewhere, Cowboy Stadium, I think it's called AT&T Stadium now. If we played them in Dallas, AT&T Stadium, I think we'd beat them by 10 points. Take all the elements out with the wind and all that stuff, I think we'd beat them by 2 scores. They could not do anything with our defensive line. They just couldn't. One of the coolest things I saw was Mario Cristobal's post-game interview. I thought that was real cool. So often you see people in one element, but you don't get to see the real version of them. I'm the same way. Like, I own a few businesses, so people see me, they think I'm just mean, scary guy, but they don't get to see the playful, nerdy side of Jordan Harris. They just get to see the person who's focused on numbers and focused on, business. I think Mario Cristobal let us into the real Mario Cristobal today, and it was pretty cool to see that. So he's out there interviewing. He's like, "Oh, look at my family! And look at this!" Like he was basically like he was at Disney World or something. He's like, "Look at my family, and I got this." And then Michael Irvin comes and gives him a kiss on the cheek, and that's when I was like, "I think that's the real Mario Cristobal right there," because he's like, "Yeah, let's go, man!" Like he was hyped. I think that's who Mario Cristobal when he goes home or when he's hanging out with his friends. I think that's who that guy was out there when he won that game. Out there saying, "Let's go, and here's my family. Look at my kid, man. Look, this is my son here. And oh, look at these guys. These are guys." I think that's who the real Mario Cristobal is. The one who's not being interviewed by national media. The one who's not standing on the sideline trying to keep it cool so his players don't get overwhelmed. Like, I think that guy who just won the game with that microphone in his face with Michael Irvin coming up and kissing him and seeing Cristobal wipe his face off like, ugh, like I think that is who the real Mario Cristobal is. It was cool to see that. Also watched Fletcher's interview after the game, and I thought that was real cool too. That was pretty touching to see him talking about like how he sends a message to his dad. Usually that stuff kind of annoys me. I'll get tired of hearing those stories all the time. Like, y'all just trying a little too hard. I thought that story was pretty cool, man. Like, I lost my dad unexpectedly years ago. This is 2004 when I lost my dad. But whenever he's talking about he's got a ritual with his dad, and he used to eat oatmeal in the morning, and he sends his dad a message every morning. I think that stuff is so cool, man. I'm telling you, usually I roll my eyes at those stories and be like, "Get out of here with that." Like it's just annoying to me. But that one touched me a little bit, and I think it's probably something to do with the fact that I did lose my dad unexpectedly, so I can kind of understand where he's coming from. Um, yeah, man, the Hurricanes won in the playoffs. The Hurricanes got something to say, man. I'm telling you, like, uh, I think after the game, I think the commentator said something that a lot of people are probably thinking. I don't think a lot of Hurricanes fans are thinking it, but I think a lot of people across the country are thinking it, which is, it's a question. Do you think the Hurricanes really have a chance to win? That's what they asked after the game. Do you think the Hurricanes really got a chance to beat Ohio State? What do you think? And then one of the guys was like, yeah, I think it's going to be a hell of a game. I think the same thing. I think a lot of people across the country are like, you think the Hurricanes got a chance? And my thought is like, absolutely. Like, yeah. I wouldn't be. I think a lot of people across the country, if the Hurricanes beat Ohio State, they'll be shocked. Like, what? We beat Ohio State, I'm going to be like, sounds about right. I think that we are that good. I do believe that we need to really, really focus on what third down looks like, third and throw, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, something like that. We really need to look at that again because people are going to continuously do that to us. They're going to. They saw how ineffective we were on 3rd and throw. They saw it. Just blitz a bunch of people at us. We don't have time to do anything, and we're going to just hold the ball and take a sack. We've seen that. So we have to do something to keep that from happening again. I don't know what it is, more rub routes. I don't know what it is, but something's got to change on that. But yeah, man, I am ecstatic. I'm elated. I am hyped. I am thrilled. I don't know of any other synonyms to use, but man, I'm so hyped about winning that game. It's crazy. So now I'm just going to go and look at every YouTube video that I can possibly find about the Hurricanes winning. And I'm just going to sit there and watch it. I'm going to go to church tomorrow. Right when I get out of church, I'm going to come back and watch the game again, probably. Yeah, crazy work. We won. Football from now on for the rest of my life will be more than just a game. I've said that before, and I will continue to say that. It's more than just a game, man. It's helped me out a whole lot, especially today. So anyway, please do like the video. Subscribe to the channel. I appreciate y'all riding with me for so long, man. I appreciate y'all support. Every like, every share, every subscription helps me take care of my family even better. But yeah, man, this is crazy. This is crazy. We've been going for how long now? Dang. Hour and 37 minutes. Well, guess it's closing time, y'all. Let me go ahead and get out of here. Again, thanks for your support. I truly do appreciate it. Take care. God bless. Peace.